Hello. God, it's 8 seconds already. The seconds are going quicker than seconds. What's going on? Oh, that's better. It's gone to 8 again. It went to 10 in about 5 seconds. It was going twice as fast. Okay, so what it is, right? I'm just going to play this tape. Right at the beginning, there's this tune, right? And I really love this tune. I've had it for about 20 odd years. There's this quote about Gurdjieff. I've been trying to find it on YouTube, this tune. I don't know what to look for. I think it was probably played on the John Peel show. I just don't know what to, because when I try to look up the quote, it's not a Gurdjieff quote. It's somebody quoting about Gurdjieff, and I don't know who's quoting. So to try and find the actual quote or the tune when I don't know what it is exactly, it's really hard. So I don't know what to look up for. But I'm going to play the tune so you can listen to it. If anybody knows the tune, which I doubt if you will, if anyone does, please let me know what it was. And if possible, leave me a link to some sort of a YouTube video where I can listen to it, like the whole thing. I'd really appreciate it, you know. But anyway, just so you can hear it, I'm going to put it on now. Hello, viewer.
To understand Gurdjieff, you will have to drop all your categories, all your labels of sinners and saints and disinvites. In him, the sinners and the saints meet. In him, even the sin is transformed. In him, even the sin is transformed into the word believed.
Ah dear. So what was the quote there? It said, see if I can remember it. To understand Gurdjieff, you will have to drop all of your categories. The reason I leave this tape on now, and it's not the same me talking over the top of it, but it's this, with my tapes, I've only got a handful of tapes out of about 60 tapes that I spent years and years, like about 10 years, like recording these tapes, you know.
Sometimes someone else look up. His or her life will never be the same.
It's this tune afterwards that sort of puts the last tune in its place. It doesn't seem like such a great tune, maybe, but when you listen to the rest of the tape, like I do, and I have done, then it's sort of it gains sort of power. Like straight away going on this tune about agony in your body, and this reminds me actually. Some of the stuff I want to talk about, the work. I'm going to turn it down actually. I want to talk about agony. I was going to make a separate video, but it probably means this video won't do very well, and that's good with me. I don't really want like a big viewers. Although I don't really mind. If you want to share this video, that's fine. Okay, one of the things, what it is, I noticed about the family scapegoating, right? Because I've been family scapegoated. I made a video about this recently, so I won't go all into the details again. But my mum and dad had sort of, you could argue, they had good reasons to create a family scapegoat. They had lots of like pent up anger and frustration, and disappointment with the world, you know. They were both bottling up, you know. So when I was born, they sort of, my mum especially, started family scapegoating me, and it quickly led to my dad as well. And then the rest of my family, you know, my siblings, they you know, they all just joined in because that's what they were. That's how they were brought up, you know. So what I've noticed, right, is that there's this agony that these people, if I try to sort of make them aware of what they're doing, because the thing about family scapegoating is that you can't get the people who do the scapegoating to be aware of what they're doing. You can't. You just like, there's no way to get them to be aware. they can't. This is what I've realised. They've got split personalities. Their sort of darker self, you know, their deep subconscious self, finds every opportunity it can to attack me, like psychologically, to undermine my self-confidence, my sanity, you know, my well-being, you know, anything to sort of like knock me down. They will do it, especially if there's some reason. They're very clever at it, you know. It's very subtle. They're very good at like making doing it in such a way that it's very difficult for me to point out what they've done like harmful to me, because it almost sounds as like, if I try talking about it, it almost sounds like I'm crazy if I try talking about it, you know. But you know, there's definite things. For example, I was kicked as soon as I was 16. As soon as I was old enough to live on my own, my dad kicked me out the house, right? But none of my other siblings were kicked out of the house at all, ever. You know, I was actually kicked out of the house twice, which doesn't sound possible, but it's actually true. So when my mum and dad were arguing one time, and my mum went and like hid herself away somewhere, my dad come down to my house and smashed all my windows. But he didn't smash anyone else's windows. He didn't go into anyone else's house, just mine, and smashed my windows. You know, it's like things like that. That I've got this huge, great big list of things where my family have like just all gone against me over and over again. But they always, if I try and bring the subject up, they just straight away try to contradict me, and they're really confrontational and stuff. What I realised is that they've got split personalities, and they're not real people. They're not whole people. They're split. And what I've decided, it's worse for them than it is for me. This goes, I'm a fan of Socrates. I think Socrates was great, apart from the buggering little children. I'm not sure about that, Haven't really tried it, so I can't really give a fair opinion about it. So, but it wasn't all good, Socrates, but he did have some good points, about going against the written word. I kind of agree with that, and talking about how people are generally bad, and they would, a similar thing with Freud and Jung. Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud, they both agreed that people would rather die than have a good look at themselves, right? This is what I find with my family. They don't want to look at themselves. If I try to get them to sort of look at themselves, I mean, like I did the other day when my mum came around on my birthday, I told her to I didn't want to speak to her. What it was actually, because I was at my grandma's 100th anniversary of her birth, and she died a long time ago of cancer, breast cancer. What it was, I went and smoked a spliff because her oldest son was there. That's my uncle, my mum's older brother. Now he was the guy that him and his sister, they got buggered by this guy when they were like teenagers, and that's why my mum's father, my grandfather, went off to live in Africa, away from the family, because the two oldest children allowed themselves to be buggered by some older guy, and he was so humiliated because it became public knowledge. He went to live in Africa, and my mum never got over it. But she didn't address the real problem. She didn't attack the people, her older siblings, her older brother and sister, who were the cause of the problem. So what instead she done was to turn me, her firstborn child, into the family scapegoat. She used to when she washed my hair when I was a kid, she would let all the soap get in my eyes, and she would be really scratching my head really hard, and use water that was really hot, so it would burn me, not actually burn me, but just was very, very hot, And I've noticed whenever I've seen other people wash their children's hair, they always use water that's about body temperature. My mum used to use water that is like scalding hot, She used to scratch my hair. I remember her saying to me, the only time I remember her speaking to me with any emotion, it was like, I hate you, I wish I'd never had you, So she's a very messed up person, and what it is, I've realised that they've got it worse than me. They've got split personalities. They're never going to have satisfying lives until they overcome this stuff. And I've tried helping them through it, but they don't take anything I say seriously. So when I try to tell them that they're doing family scapegoating. Go and check it out on Google. Go and Google family scapegoating. You can't get people who do family scapegoating to admit what they're doing. You can't get them to sort of wake up out of their sort of like craziness. So I can't do anything. There's nothing I can do. I try telling them, but they don't take me seriously. They won't listen to me. As I say, I think it's worse for them because at least I know what's going on. You know, I've got my feet on the ground. You know, I've got my feet on solid foundations. I'm building on solid foundations, whereas they're not. They're just like, they're building on sand. One of the things about family scapegoating is that they try to sort of like make it seem like I'm going crazy. They constantly imply that I'm not really with it. Now, for example, when I told my mum the other day, I remember my dad giving us all cocaine, me and my two younger brothers. He gave us all cocaine. I was 10 years old. My younger brothers, my next younger brother was 7. My youngest brother was 5. So he gave us cocaine. Now, there was a good reason why he gave us cocaine. It was really good cocaine. It was pure. It was unadulterated. It was really good quality. So he said to us, I'm giving you this cocaine while you're young because I want you to know what good quality cocaine is like. So that you never get deceived and you will always know what good quality cocaine is, right? So I do remember I snorted some. I had sinus problems because I got loads of allergies like when I was a child, and I still got them. Like, so it was hard to. My dad had a go at me. He said, "You wasted it." But my other two brothers, they were okay. They snorted it fine. Yeah. So you know, he did have a good reason to give it to me, you know. But the thing is, when I was telling my mum, she straight away was like, "Oh, that didn't happen," and she was all confrontational. And you know, I tried to explain it to her. You know, she used to smoke cannabis then. You know, my mum and dad used to smoke cannabis when I was growing up, and when you stop smoking cannabis, you often lose a lot of the memories that you had from when you was using cannabis. I said to my mum, I said to her, "You've probably forgotten because you haven't smoked cannabis for the last 15 or 20 years, you know, and so you can't remember." But I mean, think of it logically, right? I mean, you viewer, tell me if I'm remembering very clearly that my dad, and when my mum was present, my dad gave me and my two siblings cocaine when I was 10 years old and my brother was 7 and the other brother was 5, but my mum can't remember it. Who's more likely to be, you know, my mum's nearly 70, by the way. Who's more likely to be right? She's saying that I'm wrong because I remember this stuff and she can't remember it. Or maybe she's forgotten it and I haven't forgotten it. I can remember it. You know, what's more likely to be true? You know, do I just got a phantom memory of being given cocaine by my dad? Or, you know, or is my mum more likely to be right and I'm just, you know, it's a phantom memory and, you know, because as far as I'm concerned, it's much more likely that I'm the one who's correct. But when I tried to explain this to my mum, she's like, "Are you trying to say I'm crazy?" You know, and that's what I said to her. I said, "Well, yeah. If you can't accept that, then you've got a fucked up version of reality. You can't remember things properly." And she got all like cranky and just walked off, like, you know. That's what people are like. That's what most people are like. You know, they do these fucking stupid things when they're young and then they forget them. And if you try to remind them, they They try to make you seem like you're crazy. You're a crazy person. I never done anything like that. I'm a responsible person, you know. It happened twice. My dad gave us cocaine twice. I remember both times. I got it stuck up my nose because I had blocked noses. Both times he said I wasted it. And both times he said to my younger brothers, no, you're doing really well, you guys. You know how to snort coke, you know. But my mum wouldn't believe a word of it, even though she was there. I distinctly remember she was there. She wasn't like not out. It wasn't like my dad was doing it to us kids while my mum was not there. She was there. She was just standing around, like, you know, just sort of like, oh, just standing around, just doing nothing, you know, just sort of like just watching and. Oh, I'm gonna pick my nose on video. I didn't get anything out of it. I've still got blocked sinuses. I've got loads of allergies. I've got black mold. I've got this black mold problem. If anyone wants to donate me like lots of money so I can move to a new flat, I'd really appreciate it. If you viewer have got a few $1,000s spare, I could make videos without picking my nose. You know, I could move to somewhere without black mold. I wouldn't have allergies. I wouldn't have to sit here picking my nose all the time. You know. Hey, do you like my nose? This is a big nose, but I've got like a Neanderthal nose. This is a Neanderthal nose. It's like in my craft design and technology class when I was at school, I had the biggest nose. It was definitely the biggest nose. It was the longest nose. It was the widest nose. It was the biggest pointed out nose. It doesn't look that big on my face because I've got a big head, but it's actually a big nose. It's, you know, surprisingly big, even though it doesn't look that big. It's actually very big. You know what they say about people with big noses, don't you? They've got a good sense of smell. Oh, I've got Neanderthal genes, right? I know this. I'll show you. See that toe, that second toe? It's a bit longer than the big toe. That's Neanderthal genes, that is. So I've got a very good sense of smell, right? Twice, I remember twice, I've got people to say, look, I said to people, look, get a can out of your cupboard and take the label off and give me the can and I can tell you what's in the can, right? Just by smelling it. I can smell through tins. Now, I don't know if this is true. It could just be that, you know, the tin smells of what's in it because of come from the same factory, what, you know. But twice I've done it and I've smelled the can and I've been 100% accurate about what's inside the can, right? Twice I've done it. I can smell stuff. I've got an extremely good sense of smell. Also, my eyesight, very, very good long eyesight. I can see things from a long way away. And what's the other thing? And the hearing, I can hear really well. You know, I could just hear stuff miles away, you know. It's also, I am a bit psychic. I've got intuition as well. So I don't know if it's connected. It's probably all connected. You can probably tell. I left this tape on now. It's a pretty cool tape. Another about 20 minutes or so left, probably.
just think.
What? Okay, I'm going to do another quick book review while I'm here. Wilbur Smith, right? I quite like one of the things I like about his books, right? It's all about in Africa, and it's very interesting the way he talks about African people and different tribes. He sounds a bit like a racist, but in a good way. You know, he's got like a definite understanding. He deals with different races as though they're different species, you know. And he talks about them as though they're different species, you know. Like, for example, you've got different types of grapes that make different types of wine, right? You've got Cabernet Sauvignon, you know, you've got Merlot, you know, you've got what are those? You've got the Spanish ones, you know, Tempranillo, Pinot Noir. You've got all these different types of grapes, you know, the champagne grapes, you've got Chardonnay, you know, they're all grapes, you know, just like you could say we're all human, but you've got white grapes and you've got black grapes, you know, and you've got varying other colors, you've got red grapes, you know. It's very similar to with humans. You've got white humans, you've got black humans, you've got brown humans, you've got red humans. They've all got their different qualities, you know. Okay, the other thing about this book I think is quite interesting. There's a lot of interesting stuff in it about Africa, and in the 70s, mainly the 60s and 70s. All the Marxist influence, the Russian influence, trying to get control over various African countries and stuff, and the war going on, and what's going on in America and Europe and the UK and stuff, and Russia and China, and you know, it's really interesting. It's not exactly 100% true because it's fiction, but it's based, a lot of it's based on truth. And just reading one book, it's like an enjoyable read, and you can get a lot of information about what was going on in that period of time, in terms of, you know, communism and Marxism, and the way Africa is, and the way it's developing and stuff. You know, it just gives you a lot of background information. just for one little book, which is an easy read, this one, Golden Fox, Wilbur Smith, I really recommend it, really, because it's worth probably about 5 history books, you know, and it's such a good read as well. It's enjoyable, you know. You know, I like reading stuff like that because it saves me reading loads of history books, which are much harder to read and probably not no fun at all, and you're not getting any real benefit from them. Whereas that, it's probably a little bit biased, but you know, if you've done your homework, it's still a good read. You can get a lot out of it, and it's a fun read. It's like reading 5 history books all in one go. You know, it's just sorted. I like his stuff, Wilbur Smith. He's probably Jewish, you know, but they're often quite good writers. You know, you have to remember these things. You know, anything that's published, it's 90% of it they're Jews. Like they look after their own, you know. So just bear that in mind when you read something like that. You know, that's all. Apart from that, great book, like. See, this is all still about that original track that I put on the. To understand Gurdjieff, you'll have to drop all your categories. You'll have, you know, even the sin is transformed. Even the sinner is transformed to become the worldly being. Even the sage is transformed. You can always go back to the video and try and listen to it. I don't know how well it comes across in this video. Probably not very well. That's why I was trying to tell you what it says. But he's saying, like, in Gurdjieff, the sinner and the saint meet. The sinner and the saint are like the same person. They're just 2 sides of the same coin, you know. So that's one of the things about doing the work. You have to transcend this. It's this horrible thing about when I've heard it. I've known about this idea for donkey's years, you know, like probably 30 years. The idea that the sinner and the saint cancel themselves out. You know, they're 2 sides of the same coin. The problem with it is that people can get, like, they can hear that, the uninitiated can hear this idea and see it as an excuse to commit sin or an excuse to not change their ways, you know. Whereas the work, you know, I'm still trying to stop smoking and drinking. You know, I'm still working it. I'm not going to give up. You know, it's like I have to. It's the work. It's we've all got our like cross to bear. You know, we've all got our like weaknesses. You know, and that's what you got to strengthen. You got to strengthen your weaknesses. You know, develop your strengths, but strengthen your weaknesses as well. You know. You want to be a standalone person, not be trapped in the matrix. You want to become out the matrix and stand alone. You know, rise above it. You got to become the risen Christ. You know, the risen Neo. So this goes back to the agony. You know, there's this agony that we have to go through. I really should do another video purely about agony, and that might be fun actually. Yeah. It doesn't sound like fun, but it'd be fun to watch for you people, maybe. Because that's one of the reasons it's what it's about. It's the pain, it's the agony. You know, when you deal with it head on, it tends to go away quite quickly, and you become empowered and liberated, and you know, you get good vibes, and you feel released. You feel release. You know, because you can spend your whole life trying to avoid the agony. You know, and that's what most people do. They're trying to avoid the agony. But when you start facing it, you face it head on. Yes, I'm talking to you. Me. Yes, when you face it head on, It dissolves. It's like you face yourself in the mirror, you reach that infinity point, you know, like when you're facing a mirror, you've got two mirrors facing each other, you go into infinity, and it just sort of spreads it all out. So it dissolves, the agony dissolves. It dissolves into the sea of infinity. See, I'm talking to myself now, right? It's one thing to know the work. It's a totally different thing to walk the path. You know, you can know the path, but it's a different thing to walk the path. That's Morpheus talking to Neo. You know, when he sort of like grabs the helicopter and saves Trinity in the Matrix films. Yes, I've listened to this quite a lot of times, this tape, probably 30 or 40 times. It's that first tune, the one where he talks about Gurdjieff. He says, to understand Gurdjieff, you must drop all of your categories. It's kind of about the written word. The written word, it sort of creates these labels in your head. You start labeling everything, you know, and it's a really stupid thing to do, but you can't help it. You know, when you're in the Matrix, you just can't help labeling everything. You do it for convenience, to try and understand stuff. But it keeps you, it traps you. You stop seeing things as they really are, and you start seeing them as these labels that you've put on them. And dropping all those categories, it's like dying. It's like facing your agony, facing yourself, facing the monster that you are in the real world. You know, that dark, monstrous part of you, your subconscious. You know, it's like this animal. It's like a survival animal. You know, just it's doing whatever it can to survive. You know, it eats other people, and you know, it's a monster. It's like that's why Freud and Jung said, you know, most people would rather die than face themselves, because you have to face your agony, you have to face your monster self. But the sooner you do it, the more you sooner you get into paradise. You know, the sooner all your problems dissolve. You realize that they're just imaginary. You know, your problems are imaginary. They're not real. You live in the now. It's about like, it's the same as Buddhism. All these things all come together. You know, in order to understand Gurdjieff, you must have to drop all of your categories. It's like Christianity is like, it's all been turned upside down. Because it's been written down, it's been turned into like a dead animal, a stuffed animal. Instead of the living thing, it's supposed to be you know, God is a living God. That's the whole point of Christianity. God is a living God. What the church has done, the Catholic Church, has turned it into a stuffed animal. So it's not a real person. It's not a real thing anymore. It's a dead thing. Whereas the whole point of Christianity is that it's a living God. You know, it's alive. It's alive. This is part of the work. You know, you're creating a Frankenstein monster. Something that's alive. You've got to bring it to life. You've got to bring Christianity to life. You know, you've got to make it into a living thing. You know, you've got to have the sharp two-edged sword come out of your mouth. You know, speak the truth. Live in the truth. Kill them. Eat them. Otherwise, they'll eat you. The real Christ, he comes out with a sharp two-edged sword in his mouth, right? Why is that? He cuts everyone down. cuts them down to size.
So sly. So high. That's the big one.
I mean, it's funny, Christianity would be all this like cannibalism symbology, eating the flesh and drinking the blood and stuff, you know. And then they sort of like, you know, transubstantiate it, and it's just like a bit of bread and some wine. Another interesting thing I just watched recently. Oh, that guy Max, I forgot his name now. He's talking about Genesis and how the original beginning of Genesis, right? In the original language, it's the Elohim. In the beginning, the Elohim created the world, right, and the heavens and the earth. But the Elohim means like the gods. It's a plural. So there was the gods. And later on in chapter 3, when the serpent, like when Eve eats the fruit of the tree of knowledge, it's like the gods say, now she has become like one of us, to see as the gods see, like one of us, like plural. So like God is a plural, it's not singular. This idea of a one God, it doesn't like match up with what the Bible actually says. God is a plural, not a singular. It's plural. It's more than one. It's many. You know, that's why he said that we will make them in our image. We will make them male and female. He created them in the image of God. You know, God is plural, obviously. It's God is male and female. This seems like a big deal, you know. There's loads of things I think are a big deal. The people hardly ever talk about or consider. People are so busy avoiding their agony, you know. They're finding ways to avoid having to face up to themselves. So they look at cat videos. I always like to slag off cat videos, you know, and people who watch cat videos. I know you, Snowy. I know you're one of them. Well, just while I'm here now, I'm going to go over some of the things that you know, I like to go over again. You know, like cat videos, people that avoid facing up to themselves, people not talking about cannabis curing cancer. That's another one. People not talking about how the Bible is so totally corrupted and it doesn't mean anything what people imagine it to mean. In so many different ways, you know, things like the idea of people when they go into heaven when they die, whereas as Christ specifically said, heaven is at hand, i.e., it's now, it's here in the here and now. It's not. There's no mention of it happening after you die. That's something that basically that's to do with like Norse mythology. Norse mythology talks about when you know going to heaven when you die. What else? The cure for cancer. Yeah, the cure for cancer. The banks ripping everyone off. The banks absorbing everyone's money, using this like fractional reserve system of like taking everyone's money. People don't realize it, because when you start mention, when you say sort of like, oh, it's like 2 or 3% of your money each year, right? That doesn't sound like very much, but you've got to think of it over a lifetime. If you're living to 60 or 70 years, you know, you've got 60 years of 2 or 3% a year, right? Over a lifetime, you're talking about 4 or 5 times. It's like 400 or 500%. Over a lifetime, it's like 5 times the money that you earn over a lifetime is being swallowed by the banks. So it's like you know, for every hour for every like, let's just say like week that you work, for every week that you work, say you're working 40 hours a week, the bank's getting 30 of, you're working 30 hours for the bank and the other 10 hours for you. Yeah, that's how you. It's not what it appears. When it's just 2 or 3% a year, you're thinking, oh, it's only a tiny little bit. It's only 2 or 3%. That doesn't sound like much. That's okay. I can deal with that. But over a lifetime, it's more like 3/4 of your money is going to the banks. This is how you're deceived. It's fractional reserve. So you're thinking of it in terms of 2 or 3% altogether, but it's 2 or 3% each year over your whole lifetime. Now that adds up to about 3/4 of your money that they're taking off of you, because you can't save money. That's how it basically works, you know. And it's really hard to get people to understand this. Because they keep thinking of the 2 or 3% each year, and they just keep thinking like, oh, it's only 2 or 3% each year. Each year it's just going to be the same, so it's only 2 or 3% out of all my earnings. No, it's not, because it's adding each year is adding 2 or 3% on top of what you've gone. So like the next year it's going to be like 4%. The next year it's going to be 5%, but not 5%. 5% added onto what's gone before, then 7%, then 8 or 9%, then 10% of what's gone before. Then that's just like 5 years in its 10%. You know, each year that goes by, those percentages, it's adding up. So like after sort of 30 years, it's like 70%. After 50 years, it's like 120%, 150%. You know, and those last few years, the last 60, you know, until you're 65 or 70 when you retire, it's like 200% each year is taking of your money. You're being fleeced, because it's fractional reserve. Each year is adding up, and you're being deceived because you're thinking it's 2 or 3%, and that's all it is. It's not. Those 2 or 3% each year get accumulated and added on. See, it's really hard to talk about this because you know, I feel desperate to get people to understand, and so they pick up on my desperateness, right? So let me try and make a joke out of it, right? Dear. Let's try and see the funny side of it, right? The problem is, I'm really trying to find it. It's very hard to see a funny side. Okay. Because you people are so desperate to do this work, and give all your money to the banks, right? People like me end up just sitting here making videos, pointing out how stupid you are. If you sort of woke up, right, and paid a bit of attention to what's really going on, you would stop these people keeping you like slaves. Now, one of the reasons you people haven't got the time to watch my videos is because you're working so hard. You're working 4 times harder to make ends meet than you should be. Because if they was honest, these people, and they give you the money you deserved for the work you're doing, and they stop stealing all your money by the fractional reserve banking system, you could save money and you could have a great retirement. Not only could you have a great retirement, you would have a lot more money to retire with, and you would have to work a lot less. You've also got things like what's it called? When they get people to make light bulbs, that only last 2 or 3 years, and they could make light bulbs last 100 years, right? There's a name for it. But they do the same with everything, with mobile phones, computers, cars, fridges, freezers, televisions, everything. It's all planned obsolescence, right? Yeah, I got you. Oh, that was synchronicity, HRC. I said it exactly the same time that you put it up there. Hopefully it doesn't come across like that on the video because there's a time lag. But I did say it at the same time that you posted it up there. Planned obsolescence, synchronicity. So doubly true. That's how you know that I know what I'm talking about, because I'm synchronous with HRC. And HRC definitely knows what he's talking about, and definitely knows what he's doing at least half the time. Or at least when I'm concerned, anyway. That's the half of the time where he definitely knows what he's doing, and I'm very pleased that he does. And I'm very proud to have him on my show. Hi, HRC. He's doing me a great favour coming on here. No, I'm too humble. I'm not actually too humble. I don't mind bigging myself up. That's why I call myself rank emperor. It's like I'm the boss of this world, actually. Although you would never know it just looking at my channel, but actually I am the boss of this world. Sometimes I don't even know it myself. I forget. I have to remind myself. Oh, look, an hour. I've been on here an hour. I think that's about enough time now. Oh, it's a shame. Now you missed most of the good stuff, HRC. You'll have to go back and watch it all, and then you can't leave comments. So did you watch my video about the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, the best film ever made? I've been watching I just watched the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly a couple of days ago, and I just started watching it again. It's such a great movie. I watched it loads of times. I can watch the whole movie, and I can just start watching it again. It's such a great movie. Yeah, I think that's it now. I do get this dilemma sometimes when I'm making videos. Yeah. Thank you. And you, HRC. I was just thinking, right, you know, sometimes I run out of, it's an hour already. I'm just thinking of shutting the video down. But then I think every time I shut a video down, I just remember all these other things I was going to talk about, you know. So I'm just going to give it a few minutes. I might put the other side of that tape on and just see how it goes. And if not, I'll probably shut it down. But I just see if I remember anything else to talk about. Because I often forget stuff that's like really interesting, you know. It can take me months or years to remember, you know. Let's see what else I've got here. Oh, I know what. There we go. Hyperkinico.
Hi there. There's a long way to go from there, isn't it? Oh, yeah.
Oh no, that sounds terrible. Ooh, what happened there? No, it's not good.
Exercise called Foxsake Gurdjieff, but perhaps it's Fukusake.
You don't have to stay and watch HRC. I'm just experimenting, seeing how long I can go make a video for, you know. Even when I normally would shut it down, it's like, well, I'll just see how it goes. You know what, right? I would like to see. Do you know any other people that do like face on like blogs? Because I've been trying to look. The reason I want to know is because I want to see people doing videos like I do and just talking about stuff for an hour or so I can watch them in the morning and like just see someone talking and maybe communicate with them. I'd quite like to do it in the morning. I'm guessing, what time is it? It's probably in the morning for you, isn't it? I'm the only one. Dear. But it must be good for you actually to watch somebody like live face to face in the morning, because it's good for your if you've got any sort of depression, you know, speaking to someone face to face, you know, more or less. I know you're only leaving comments there, but I'm talking to you, you know. So it's good to sort of have someone in the morning. It sets you up for the day. You're supposed to see someone face to face, you know, right in the morning, and it sort of like boosts your mood for the day. You know, keeps you in a good mood. Not in the evening, but in the morning. You know. I'm thinking of doing this. I'm thinking of doing it just for you lot, you know. So in the morning, it probably my time. It'd probably be about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But that's okay with me. I could do like a video then, and just talk to you lot because it's good for you to sort of like lift your mood up for the day and get you in a good frame of mind and a good mood. It's scientific. It really works, you know. Even if I'm an arsehole, it's still good for you. Yeah, that's why I've done that a lot actually. You probably drink a lot of alcohol then, hey Chelsea. I drink a lot of alcohol. That's one of the things that reverses your body clock if you drink a lot of alcohol. You need to drink less alcohol. This is what I've found. I need to drink less alcohol, eat better food, eat seaweed. You know, that does help. Get out in the morning, get outside in the morning when it's when the sun's rising. You know, and like that sort of gets your body clock working. If you're that interested, maybe you're not interested. Yeah, you quit drinking mostly. Still, it can take time to sort of rebalance your body clock. But if you get out at sunrise and a few times during the day, and then at sunset as the sun's going down, it can put your body clock back into, you know, a regular sleeping pattern where you're awake in the day and you sleep at night. But you also need minerals. You need things like iodine, magnesium, all your minerals, really, all of them. You've got to work on all the minerals. So like good quality nutrition. That's part of doing the work. It's annoying for me drinking alcohol because it defeats the whole work, the whole physical aspect of doing the work. When you're drinking alcohol, it just depletes your body of loads of minerals all the time. So it's really important for me to stop drinking alcohol. So stupid. How do I quit drinking alcohol? How did you quit drinking, HRC? Have you got any advice? Have you got any advice for someone who's struggling to quit? Masturbation. I don't know what to say. It's like I tried it. It didn't seem to work for me. Well, it sounds like reasonable advice anyway. If it works for you, you know.
That's Artisan on Seed Records, an EP called Hardware Handshake.
That's funny, that tune, Hardware Handshake. Artisan. It just made me think of masturbation anyway. A bit more synchronicity. See, you're synchronous today. You've got all the synchronicity going with you, HRC. I appreciate that. You know, you started off synchronous, planned obsolescence, and that. Yeah. As you've totally disrupted my video, but that's okay. Today's a good day to masturbate. I expect the astrology is really good. Venus and stuff, you know. Where is Venus today? Aquarius. It's like Venus in the sign of Aquarius. I think just going into Pisces. Meh. I don't know. Why is today a good day to masturbate? Let me guess, right? Every day is a good day to masturbate, right? Well, I did when I was younger. I did used to masturbate quite a lot. You know, like sometimes several times a day. You know. Yeah. It doesn't seem to have done me any harm, you know. Although I don't know what it would be like if I didn't masturbate, you know. I'm still here anyway. I'm still alive. I didn't die from it. I didn't go blind. I used to. I had a little time where I went through watching porn, but I was only really interested. All I was interested in is watching women masturbate and have squirt orgasms. I found that a bit fascinating for a year or so. When I first went on the computer, when I first went on the internet. Yeah, you know, one of my girlfriends. We did I remember like doing the similar thing, you know, 7 times a day. Wasn't unusual. You know, in my sort of mid to late 20s, that was normal for me, you know. Oh, back in the good old days. Oh, I'm not very experienced. I've not been with a black lady, or a redhead even. I've not even been with a redhead or a black woman or Chinese or anything like that. I've been very limited. I've only been with like 4 women, and they were all like sort of white. No blonde heads, no redheads, just sort of brown haired and black haired. That was it. I think maybe they were all brown haired. Yeah, they're probably all brunettes thinking about it. I've had a very boring sex life. That's totally boring. I need to do something about it. I need to sort of like, this is what, yeah. Yeah, they're my favourite as well. I'm mostly only attracted to brunettes, you know. I like the idea of redheads though, and I quite like the idea of like other, you know, a quick fling with some other races, you know, maybe some Japanese, a nice young Japanese woman or something, or I don't know. I'm not really interested. To me, skin color doesn't make a lot of difference. It's people's astrology. That's what I've noticed that I'm attracted to. Hyperkinico, nice band from the 90s. This isn't my favourite one, but I'm gonna stop talking when it comes to my next favourite tune. It'll be in probably 10 minutes. Japanese. There's this brunette at my local supermarket. It's just like my knees go a bit to jelly every time I see her. And she's quite old. She must be about 50 or something, you know. But she's got really nice hair. It's so nice, you know. It just sort of like, it's really straight. Goes down to about her neck. It's sort of like she really wears it really well. You know, she's got a very kind of matronly sort of figure. She seems very together, but a bit retarded. You know, in just the right kind of retarded. You know, so that I just like my jaw just sort of, and my tongue goes. Should I ask her for a phone number? That's a good idea, actually. I should do it, shouldn't I? I should say to her, look, hey, can I have your phone number? I'll never ring her up though. I'm terrible with women. I've got no confidence. That's why I've only been with 4 women. I don't know how to talk to women. I've had too many rejections. You know, that's why I went all MGTOW. You know, I'm just fed up with women. I've had too many rejections. They're like wounds that don't heal. It's like I feel wounded all over. I've all these cuts and they won't heal up. So it's like women are just like, I'm getting over it though. I think that they are going to heal up. I can feel them healing up now. Actually, just talking about it, it's like, no, I'm healing up. I'm going to heal up. I'm healed up, and I'm ready for more rejections or the good stuff. You know. That's a good point. I have to bear that in mind. You're right. You're right, HRC. Yes, you're right. You know, that's why they reject me, because they don't have confidence. Oh, thanks, man. That's a great bit of wisdom, you see. Yeah, man. Watch this space. I'm carrying this video because there are more good tunes coming up, you know. I think it was more like 60 years ago, HRC. How old is she now? She's like 90 or something, isn't she? Hang on. was 1977. That was her 25th coronation, and she was like, she must have been about 38 then, and that was like 45 years ago. 40 odd years, no, 42 years ago, yeah. I think she probably was hot when she was in her teenage years. But each to their own, you know. In our school, they gave us a coin. It was a half crown, I think, or a crown. It was like 25 pence, probably a crown or a half crown. I've forgotten one now. It's worth 25 pence. It was a big round coin, a quarter of a pound. I think I'm going to spend it on sweets pretty soon. Probably worth about 10 quid now. See this tune, the bass line. Quite a hard tune. It teaches you patience. Yeah.
There's been a sequence of 12 inches.
I know.
This year with no
We should learn to be more rougher, shouldn't we? Like, you know. But then again,
see if you can guess what that one might possibly have been. And I can't tell you who it's by.
What does nice mean? I don't know. I don't even know what nice means. It used to mean like.
Another one from our session guest tonight. There was something else I was going to read out. Never mind. Oh, yeah.
This is the tune.
Obviously, it's really nice getting all of these text messages.
I just have to stop what I was saying. I'm going to turn this up. This is the tune you want to hear.
Just don't make a great sense, to be absolutely honest with you. But they're all jolly interesting, City, vaguely, and almost gratefully received. So if I don't read them out, don't be too cross. We do our best. Right, where are we now? This is Hyperkinico in session from Norwich. This is the third tune from them, and it's called, rather disgracefully, Two Tadgers.
No, it's the wrong tune. It's still fun though. Tadgers in Britain means testicles. It's only because you haven't got a female president yet. No, I quite like the idea. That's the good thing about America, you know. You've only got male presidents. You've never had a female president. That would tell you what, right? As soon as you get a female president, that will be the end of your culture. That will be the beginning of the end for the US. Cannabis cures cancer. I don't know why that is. That sounds a bit sexist, HRC, saying that you know, it'd be awkward paying a hooker with a bitch on your money. I assume you mean like the Queen. You mean that, right? Is that you got a problem with that? No, I like the idea. I like the idea of. I've just got to be careful. I've got to put the volume up again in just a few seconds because it's going to come onto the Hyperkinico track. Chop Your Garden Up. You know, it's just such a great tune. Okay, it's going to come on now. I'm pretty sure I've got to put it on. I don't even know. I think I've got it all wrong. I don't know where. Maybe I missed the tune. Now, I like American money. The idea that you've got all the presidents on your, you know, on all your money, and they're all green. Do you know, right, in the UK now, our money's plastic. We've got this money, it's actually plastic. It's not paper anymore. It's plastic, you know. I imagine you've still got real paper money in the US. As far as I'm concerned, yeah, this is an abomination. It's just a bit of plastic. It's like... I don't know what to think about it. Is we've got plastic money. I'm just waiting for them to make plastic coins, and then I'm going to like, yeah. Our money used to be made of cloth. It used to be made of hemp. That's the one use we still had with hemp. They would make money out of it, you know. But now they make money out of plastic. You know, it's like, you know, things are going downhill when our money's made out of plastic. It's plastic. This is plastic. It's not paper. It's not cloth. It's just plastic. The same as what they make bin bags out of, you know. It's crazy. Well, I totally missed the tune. Maybe it was the. How did I fucking miss it? There was this tune by Hyperkinico, and it's called "Chop Your Garden Up." It must have been at the beginning of this tape. I missed it or something. This is going to come on, but I think I've missed it. That's annoying. I wanted to make a big deal out of that. Anyway, HRC, you know what? I enjoyed that. You know that guy that you made a video about, the guy that done what's he called? Toxic waste something tune. He got a channel, and it's like toxic poison or something. But I quite enjoyed some of his stuff, you know. And I shared one of his video, that Venus cover, on one of my G Plus accounts, my communities, and I got quite a lot of thumbs up. I got 7 thumbs up on there. Lethal Waste Jams, yeah, that's right, yeah. I really quite like some of his stuff, right? And I made a post of his tune. I can go and check it actually, see how many thumbs up he's got now. I'm just checking it. It just takes a little bit of time for me to get through to that place. It was 7 thumbs up the last time I saw it. The thing is, right, when I looked on his actual YouTube video, because you can't leave the video to play, it doesn't play on the community. So I had to people have to click onto it. Here it is. Oh, it's still only 7, but there's actually more than that. If I actually see how many people have thumbed up, view activity. La di da di da. Yeah, I know. He's he's quite a handful, isn't he? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 8 people that's thumbed up it, you know. But it didn't seem like they bothered to thumb up his actual video on YouTube. Because I've seen it and there's still 4 thumbs up. When I first went on there, I was the 5th thumb up. So someone's taken away one of their thumbs up, and he's now got a thumbs down. Let me just check that out actually again. Oh, everything takes so much longer when I'm making a video.